They say only the good die young. Henry Kissinger has just passed away at the age of 100. None of us know whether the old owl of US foreign policy is presently on the escalator going upwards or down. But we should know that Kissinger was one of the architects of our age. And right until the end, he flew all the way to Beijing in his 100th year for talks with the leadership of the People's Republic of China. Measured in calendar months, Kissinger's period was a short one as amanuensis to President Richard Nixon, elected in 1968, resigning in disgrace in 1974. But that is merely a thumbnail. Kissinger's era started before and lasted a lot longer than that. There are many things that will be said about Dr. K, who looked and talked like a James Bond villain, but none of them will include the allegation that he was dumb. In the era of Joe Biden and Donald Trump, his intellect sure shone bright. A Jewish refugee to the United States from Nazi Germany, Kissinger ended up in the US Army, fighting the fascists at the Battle of the Bulge. He fought his way through Harvard. He fought through the fog of the drunken haze of the final days of Richard Nixon's presidency. He fought through the era of Gerald Ford and his presidential interregnum, an era in which it was said the president couldn't chew gum and walk in a straight line at the same time. Two presidents, Richard Nixon and then Gerald Ford, whose brain in the end was missing, were lucky they had Dr. Kissinger to think for them. By the standards of presidential perfidy today, Nixon didn't do a whole lot wrong in seeking to bug his Democratic Party opponents in the Watergate. Nowadays, this looks like mere tiddlywinks. Looking back at Watergate, one wonders what all the fuss was about, and exactly why the CIA and the FBI and their deep throats in Washington underground car parks were so determined to bring President Nixon down. Maybe it was this. Kissinger authored a policy of deep détente between the US and the Soviet Union, and Nixon followed it, concluding strategic arms limitation agreements with Moscow and avoiding all-out confrontation and war between the superpowers. Dr. Kissinger might have looked like Dr. Strangelove and sounded like him, but he preferred the great game to the Great War. Above all, Kissinger authored the Great Turn to China, followed by President Nixon, the normalization of relations between the two countries, bringing China in from the cold, recognizing that there was only one China, that Beijing was its capital and the Communist Party its government. Sure, it was in part a great chess move, but at least Nixon and Kissinger could play chess. One wonders what board games are played in the White House today and in recent years. In the 1973 Yom Kippur War between Israel and its Arab neighbors, Kissinger spent weeks on aeroplanes in his famous shuttle diplomacy between Damascus, Cairo, Tel Aviv, trying to broker a peace agreement. How different is that from today, where the movement of United States planes in the Middle East have a quite different meaning? Of course, in a life more than a century long, there are many less glorious, indeed atrocious chapters in the life of Henry Kissinger, from Indonesia all the way to Chile. But those are for another time. In my religion, it's improper to speak ill of the recently dead, right?